raised remains of a temple built to consecrate the birthplace of Lord Krishna. Muslim petitioners say this is untrue, that Hindu petitioners have made up a story to claim that Mughal regent Aurangzeb demolished a structure in a fit of bigotry. To square the claims, the Allahabad High Court took a most sensible step. It has ordered a court-monitored archaeological survey of the contested site. But instead of welcoming the move, the masjid side rushed to the courts to stall the move. Thankfully, the Supreme Court hasn't yet stayed the decision of conducting the survey. The masjid side has raised a clutchful of objections. Let me take you through some of their objections, viewers. It says that the Places of Worship Act bars pleas to alter religious sites. Now, if you remember, viewers, this Places of Worship Act was passed, turned into a law in 1991. And what does it say? That any dispute after 1947 on reclamation of religious sites will not be entertained by the court. So it puts a cap on any claims of a religious nature on any disputed area. The second objection, the compromise on land dispute was finalized in 1968 and court judgment to this effect was given in 1974. The third, under Limitation Act, being on land for over 12 years establishes ownership. So what they're saying is that we've been in possession of this land for over 12 years and under the law we have ownership. They point to a 1929 map highlights that the two religious places are separate. That is, the Idgah Mosque and the Krishna temple, they say, stand on two different sites. And there's nothing below, they say, nothing below the masjid to indicate that it was built on the spot where Lord Krishna was born. The masjid side also says that the petitioners, the Hindu side that is, lacks documentary evidence. Arguments have no legal backing. The petitioners are outsiders who lack ownership and links with relevant trusts. Now, viewers, all these are fine. You can raise all these arguments. But one wonders why the mosque side is so averse to a fact-finding test. Nevertheless, to our dismay, the self-styled guardian of Muslim rights in India, the AIMIM chief, the man to the extreme right of your screens, Asaduddin Owaisi, has gone public with a decidedly divisive rant suggesting that the goal of the Indian state is to rob Muslims of their identity. Yes, viewers, he says this is an attempt at robbing Muslims of their identity and dignity. After Babri Masjid judgment, I had said that it will embolden Sangh Parivar's mischiefs. This is despite Place of Worship Act prohibiting such litigation. The Mathura dispute, he says, was settled decades ago by mutual consent between Masjid Committee and the temple's trust. A new group has been raking these disputes, whether it is Kashi, Mathura or Lucknow. The Tiliwali Masjid, it's the same group. The Places of Worship Act is still the law in force. But this group has made a mockery of the law and the judicial process. The Supreme Court was supposed to hear this matter on January 9th. So what was the hurry? Why was a survey to be ordered? Please don't preach, he says. Give and take when one side is interested in constantly targeting Muslims. But the law doesn't matter anymore, he says. Robbing Muslims of their dignity is the only goal now. But viewers, the Owaisi is deploying the victim card to rally his constituency, his base. The hard facts suggest that it is actually Hindus who have been most often relegated to second-class status in this country. And I always bring out the hard facts for your reference, viewers, so you get closer to the truth. Let me emphasize some of those hard facts. As I said, Hindus most often end up being treated as second class. There are many hurdles that are put in the Hindu way. Let me give you some instances. Action, the Place of Worship Act 1991. What was the result of this? Law. Except for Ram Janmabhoomi issue, the act prevents predominantly Hindus from reclaiming temples and other sacred sites. And it militates only against them. Another action, the HR and CE Act. The result that it has led to is that the state has acquired exclusive control over Hindu religious sites. The sites of other religions are not subjected to state control. Another action, Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Divorce Act 1986. What was the result of this? It overturned the Supreme Court Shah Bano judgment, which was a progressive judgment, awarding Shah Bano alimony. But Muslim conservatives had other ideas and they got the Rajiv Gandhi government to overturn literally the Supreme Court verdict by passing this law. Till date, viewers, no bill has been enacted to overturn several moves to codify Hindu religious practices. Despite objections of court interferences in Hindu practices, discrimination, viewers, discrimination. Another action, Sabrimala judgment. The result was that women entry was secured in Sabrimala temple against the wishes of Hindus. Because it was only in this particular temple dedicated to Lord Ayyappa where women entry was banned. In every other Ayyappa temple, that is not the case. And there's a particular circumstance. The appeal is now, of course, pending before the Supreme Court. Another action, viewers, Ministry of Minority Affairs was created in 2006. What was the result? Disproportionate attention on issues related to notified minorities, creating an unequal playing field. Hindus have no ministry dedicated to their welfare, viewers. In a secular state, you can't have a government working exclusively for just one denomination or two or three or four. Another action, Right to Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009. What was the result? Stringent state control only over Hindu-run schools. Minority schools are exempt, and many Hindu schools have gone broke or have had problems running after this particular act came in to place. Another action, viewers, the National Education Policy of 2020 under the Narendra Modi government. What is the result? Minorities added to the list of socio-economically disadvantaged groups eligible for special aid. Again, viewers, a discrimination. Another action, Equal Rights Bill number 226. The result, Private Members Bill introduced in 2016 to end discrimination along religious lines has lapsed because no one has bothered to pass it, viewers. Now let's get to our big debate. Why is it that one side is placing obstacles in the path of Hindu belief? And why fear a truth test that can scientifically reveal what is under this particular plot of land in Mathura? It's very simple. And I want to begin this by first bringing in the AIMM spokesperson who has willy-nilly played the victim card. Sir, I have just pointed out how Hindus in this country, and there is Dr. Ranganathan here who's written a whole book on it, have been subjected to discrimination. And here, sir, you are playing the victim card saying that, oh, this is against the dignity of Muslims. Come on, sir. Since when has ascertaining proof been against the dignity of anyone? Since when does truth blight the dignity of anyone?
Yeah. Well, Rahul, the country will run on the basis of the constitution and not on the basis of anyone's faith, whether it's yours or mine. And the constitution is clear. The Places of Worship Act 1991 was enacted with the sole intention to prevent further this kind of hatred amongst both the communities. The Places of Worship Act clearly mentions that whichever the places of worships are there prior to 15 August 1947, you cannot change the nature or character of that place. That was clear. After we were having the apprehension that this will happen time and again. Now what happened in Kashi, you started with the survey, now again you have come to Mathura, and here the one most important thing is in the year 1968, you even mentioned in your commentary that the Idgah, the Shahi Idgah Trust and the Sri Kashi Jagannath Seva Sangh, they entered into an agreement for settlement through court, and the courts have given a direction that yes, the things is settled amongst the parties. So if the things were settled, what was the need of taking out or wrecking up the issue now? As matter is sub judice, matter was pending for January 9, a hearing was to be happen in the Supreme Court. But there are certain groups like the RSS, the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, they are trying to polarize the situation, they're trying to increase the hatred amongst the Muslims. See, we have been saying this time and again that since the BJP has come to power, they have already created war against the Muslim. I would say that war, hatred amongst particular community. There was no use. There was no use of getting this issue rack up now because it is already settled issue. But they want to create an atmosphere of polarization around during the Babri Masjid time also. The Supreme Court has clearly stated that there is no evidence that a temple was destroyed to make a mosque. That is settled.
Since
but
when?
Under Article 142, Article 142, they passed the order. So now wrecking up the issue is nothing but creating
let's get the other side. You made a case. You've opened the debate with some solid arguments. At least that's what they purportedly seem like. Let me bring in the other side now. Let's go first with a quick political interjection from the BJP national spokesperson, Ms. Sanju Verma. Then I want to bring in Dr. Ranganathan right after on the larger issues of how Hindus are gunning of a particular stripe for Muslims in this country. So first, Sanju Verma, your response, political response that your government, etc., is working to target Muslims and to rob them of their dignity. Sanju Verma, on that political point, a response.
Thank you. Rahul, I read a rather interesting and a brilliant piece by you on this entire issue. I culled out a lot of information from that as well.
Thank you.
Politically, I just have to say this. First and foremost, this, entire narrative that BJP, RSS are anti-Muslim, I think that is such a fig leaf which does not, pass muster with even BJP hating, narrative peddlers. And I'll tell you why. I think this has been spoken at length, but I'll just very quickly in 10 seconds. Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, etc., etc. All welfare schemes of the Modi government, anywhere between 31, 33, 36 or 37% of the welfare schemes, the amount has not been only allocated, it has been disbursed to minorities, particularly Muslims. Point number one. Point number two, in Modi's first term, 3.9 crore minority children, particularly Muslims, were given free scholarships and educational facilities, and that number is 5 crore in Modi's second term, which means in the last 9.5 years, about 9 crore Muslim children and of course other minorities also have been given access to scholarships and free education, not only primary education but also facilities in higher education, which is rather expensive. Point number three, this narrative about places of worship Act 1991, yadi this Krishna Janmabhoomi Shahi Idgah Mosque, yadi pura ka pura जो complex है उसको हम कृष्ण जन्मभूमि बना रहे तो the character of the place changes. So I will just quickly say this because I believe that let's not complicate issues. People say, oh, this Krishna Janmabhoomi issue is very complex, there's history involved, there's culture involved, there's minority rights involved, there is a legal interpretation involved. For legal interpretation we have a veteran like Vishnu Jain here who will lay down the brass tacks. I say this is very simple and I will just end my argument by putting out a very simple example. Rahul Shiv Shankar, hypothetically assume that he represents the Shahi Idgah Mosque committee. Sanju Verma represents the other side, the one that is saying that the 13.77 acres of land which is disputed belongs to the Krishna Janmabhoomi Trust. Abhi hua kya tha 1968 mein on the 12th of October. The funny thing is, that the agreement was signed between the Shahi Idgah Mosque and, here very carefully, Krishna Janmabhoomi Seva Sangh, also called as Krishna Janmabhoomi Seva Sangathan, Seva Sansthan. But the catch is this: the entire 13.77 acres which is disputed was in the name of Krishna Janmabhoomi Trust. Krishna Janmabhoomi Trust is very different from Krishna Janmabhoomi Seva Sangh. So Rahul Shivshankar and Sanju Verma have signed an agreement. But what is the catch here? Sanju Verma, who apparently has bought the land from Rahul Shivshankar, did Sanju Verma have the locus standi to buy this land or come into an agreement with Rahul Shivshankar? No, because Sanju Verma to picture mein hai nahi. This land actually was under the trusteeship of Vishnu Jain, who represents the Krishna Janmabhoomi Trust. तो द पॉइंट यह है कि दो लोगों ने अग्रीमेंट कर ली, जिसमें से जो एक स्टेक होल्डर है, he was only supposed to take care of the Krishna Janmabhoomi Trust affairs. So
you're saying
Janmabhoomi Seva Sangathan did not have ownership rights, and that is, the devil is always in the detail. So
okay, let's open this up.
10 seconds more. My limited point is this: the 12th October 1968 judgment was foul because one of the stakeholders that signed the agreement did not have the locus standi or moral authority.
That's your claim.
Because
okay.
it was only caretaking.
That will be tested. Of course, that will be tested now by a court of law. We're on, of course, the entire issue of a survey, which is, I would have thought that everyone would welcome the truth, Dr. Ranganathan, but here we are being told that the Hindus are waging war against Muslims, that this is yet another attempt to rob them of their dignity. How do you respond to Mr. Waris Pathan?
Good evening, Rahul. Waris Pathan Sahab is a very dear friend, but I have to say this, that he is peddling the narrative which is reaffirms the same old story from Martand to Mathura. That is, the Hindus have to be humiliated. The debasement of their places of worship has to be lionized, has to be shown, and they have to be subjugated, centuries upon centuries. And we have been suckers for self-flagellation. Let's accept this. So while I tell Waris Pathan Sahab, I ask him a simple question. What if the holiest of Muslim shrines was demolished and a temple built over it? Would he not ask, or at least be allowed to approach the court to demand historical injustice be corrected? I dare him to say no, but he will say yes, but as far as Hindus are concerned, he said no, let's forget about this. The holiest of Hindu places must remain humiliation, heaped upon humiliation, so that Hindus can see that the holiest of places, like it was the case in Ram Janmabhoomi, in the case of Krishna Janmabhoomi and Kashi Vishwanath, the Hindus will be able to see the humiliation, the debasement every single day. This is what people want. And it is beyond any doubt. In fact, it is written in the most authentic biography of Aurangzeb, Basir-e-Alamgiri, that in January 1670, on the orders of Aurangzeb, the Keshav Dev temple, believed to be the birthplace of Lord Krishna, was demolished. Worse, Aurangzeb had the idols brought to Agra to be scattered under the steps of Jahanara Mosque, so that they would be trodden on. Rahul, if the holiest shrine of some other religion was demolished and people of other faiths stomped their dirty feet on the sacred relics as they walked inside the place of worship, this country would have witnessed a civil war. The broken temple still exists. The broken idol still exists, and of all the disputed sites, the Keshav Dev or the Krishna Janmabhoomi in Mathura is the easiest to decipher and educate. Let me explain very briefly why and how. In 1618, the Keshav Dev temple that was repeatedly destroyed by invaders like Ghaznavi and Lodi, who by the way ordered the idols to be given to butchers and used as meat weights, was rebuilt by Bir Singh Deo Bundela for rupees 33 lakhs, a princely sum in that amount, and 50 years later, as I said, it was cruelly destroyed by Aurangzeb. 100 years later, in 1770, the Marathas got control of the site after the Great Battle of Govardhan. The site then fell into the hands of the East India Company in 1803. That then auctioned the property to Raja Patnimal in 1815, with whose descendants the property remained till it was sold to Sri Krishna Janmabhoomi Trust under the auspices of Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya in 1944. In 1958, some devious politicians, some belonging to Congress, made a wholly fraudulent trust called Sri Krishna Janmabhoomi Seva Sangh, that entered into an agreement with the Idgah Trust in 1968 and accepted a compromise wherein the Shahi Idgah's 2 acres of the 13.37 Krishna Janmabhoomi property would remain in the Muslim hands. It was Vishnu Jain and his father Shri Hari Jain who went from pillar to post, week upon week, month upon month, year upon year, to extract the original sale deed, and discovered that the real owner is Pandit Madan Mohan Walviya Shri Krishna Janmabhoomi Trust, and that the Shri Krishna Janmabhoomi Seva Sangh had no business to enter into an agreement with the Muslim side in 1968. This was akin to, as Vishnu will tell you, Bunty and Bubbly selling Taj Mahal in that famous film. On 25th September 2020, Vishnu Jain and Hari Jain ji filed a civil suit. But a week later, on 30th September of the same year, the suit was dismissed by the judge. And you know what he said? That the judiciary will collapse if every Krishna Bhakt were to approach the court in such matters. So everyone can approach the court for CAA, for 370 abrogation, disputing it. But for Krishna, you cannot approach it. But the persistence of the Vishnu Jain and Hari Jain ji won the day. And their 3 years of struggle in the court has led to this day today and the judgment of Allahabad High Court. So this whole nation, our civilization, owes a huge debt of gratitude to Vishnu Jain and Hari Jain.
Okay,
Pranam.
so let me bring in Mr. Vishnu Jain. You see, Mr. Varis Pathan has come out and said that, look, fine, all these things will be decided by the court.
10-second rebuttal to Anand Ranganathan.
Varis ji, एक मिनट उनकी सुन लें. Should we just listen to Mr. Vishnu Jain once and then you can come in? There's also Kamru ji, who's there with you, your cohort. So, though he comes from the Congress.
I just wanted to reply to my good friend Anand Ranganathan.
I'll just bring him in. I'll bring him in. You can have your face-off with him. There'll be a delightful face-off which you will get to have with Dr. Ranganathan. I know you guys like to square off, so I will not stand in the way, but I want Mr. Vishnu Jain to come in. Vishnu Jain ji, all this is fine, says Varis Pathan and his boss, Mr. Owaisi. All this is fine. But there is something called the constitution. There is something called the law, and the law right now forbids Hindus to reclaim these properties. The only exception was made was for Ram Janmabhoomi. You people are paying scant attention to the law, which is the POW Act, not the prisoners of war, even though this is some sort of imprisonment, let me tell you, for Hindus. But nonetheless, this is called the Place of Worship Act of 1991. Why are you ultra-virus of it, sir?
I want to ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Whether the courts of this country are not aware about the Places of Worship Act. What was the ruling of Varanasi District Court on 12th of September 2022? They said that in this case, Places of Worship is not applicable. What was the ruling of Allahabad High Court on 31st of May 2023? The Anjuman Intizamiya lost the battle before the Allahabad High Court. And this was the wording of the Allahabad High Court, that it is not barred by Places of Worship Act. When the matter travelled to the Supreme Court, I don't want to quote the Honourable Judge, but the Supreme Court observed that the Places of Worship Act does not bar ascertainment of religious character. So Rahul, today I want to ask on your channel, will you follow the interpretation given by the barrister, or you will follow the interpretation given by the courts of this country? I am bound by the interpretation given by the courts of this country. And it's not that the courts are not aware about the frontline defense of the Masjid Committee. They are aware that they are talking about the Places of Worship Act, but what they interpret about the Places of Worship Act, unfortunately it is not written in the Act. And to explain myself by way of an example, if I enter into a temple and I offer namaz there, will the religious character of temple change? Or vice versa, if someone enters into a mosque or offers a puja there, will the religious character of mosque change? There can be only one answer, that no, the religious character cannot change. And therefore, you will find such a unique case in this country where the ownership document, the title document is with the deity and the possession is with Shahi Idgah Mosque. Please ask a question to Shahi Idgah Mosque and Varis Bhai कि भैया आपके पास क्या डॉक्यूमेंट है, क्या आपके पास वक्फ डीड है? अगर है तो दिखाइए, मैं चैलेंज करता हूं, अगर वक्फ डीड है तो दिखाइए. दूसरी बात, can you imagine Rahul, that except by saying that we are offering namaz at this place, they have no other defense. Can you imagine that land of Allahabad High Court was declared as waqf property? The Allahabad High Court came to the Supreme Court in 2017. Like that, they are saying that this Shahi Idgah Mosque is a waqf property. And why it is a waqf? Because we are offering namaz. So wherever you will offer namaz will become a waqf land. It's completely against the basic tenets of Islam. Because as per Islamic law, a valid waqf can be done only by a person who has his self-acquired property, not by demolishing someone else's property. And last question to Waris Pathan. Please say on this channel that you can demolish someone else's property and construct a valid mosque. All the claims we will not fight.
Waris
If you
Bhai,
can say that Islamic
please
law
respond
permits-
now to Vishnu Jain
Yes.
and also Dr. Ranganathan.
yes.
And we will bring in Mr. Kamru Zaman to ask
Well-
a simple question. Did the Congress collaborate to muddy this case? Okay.
पठान साहब मुझे 10 सेकंड दीजिए.
Yes.
Well, now let me respond to my good friend Anand Ranganathan and to my very good friend Vishnu Jain also. My friend Anand Ranganathan spoke about that earlier decades ago temples were destroyed and mosques were made in its place using force and everything. He made very point 10-15 minutes. But my learned friend Anand Ranganathan, the same arguments were canvassed during the Babri era. Same things were said that the temples have been destroyed and a mosque were built in place of the temple, but the Supreme Court unanimously held that there was no destroying of any temple. This was a unanimous decision of the Honorable Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court passed an order decree to both the sides on the basis of Article 142, and the Places of Worship Act was enacted with an intention. The sole purpose was to ensure that now in future such kind of dispute must not take place. That was the intention. Now you don't want to follow the intention of the law laid down by the Parliament. You don't want to follow the Constitution. You want the faith of the people of the Hindu brothers and sisters. You have to ensure my faith as well. I am also a citizen of the country. What happened 4,000 years ago? That time there was no constitution. What Aurangzeb did or what the Hindu rulers did, what on the basis of swords, on the basis of whatever they must have done, you ask the questions to them. Today we have the constitution before us. What was the need of wrecking up the issue?
Two responses
now,
coming to you. You haven't answered fundamental point.
Settled.
Sir, the
in the year 1968 the issue was already settled.
Okay. Dr. Ranganathan and Vishnu Jain. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan first. Go. Yeah.
Yes, Pathan Saab is a very dear friend, but he's already lost 2 battles where he had to courier biryani to me. This will be the 3rd one. Because I asked him 2 very simple questions. One.
Today you will send me Mysuru Pak.
Okay, Mysuru Pak. Pathan Saab, 2 very simple questions, then I'll come to your blatant lie that Supreme Court on the Babri Masjid. But just give me 2 minutes. Number 1. Just very simply, please tell me who has the property sale deed of the Shri Krishna Janmabhoomi. Is it the trust or is it the Sangathan or Sansthan? You will not be able to say it because you will be lying if you say that Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya's trust does not have the deed. Now, if it does have the deed, how did the others
I will show you.
agreement? Number 2, you did not answer this question.
I will show
that
you.
If your holiest place of worship or a mosque was destroyed and a temple built over it, will you not approach the court to seek justice and to correct that historical injustice? You didn't answer that question.
Please answer.
And number 3.
This never happened. Nobody destroyed.
Now, please, Pathan Saab, this is unfair.
Nobody destroyed. That is why I say even during the Supreme Court.
So then, if there is another side that says that they want to know, allow for the survey.
Agreement entered between both the parties.
Allow the but that's not the party. That's an interloper.
Between both the parties, if they were not into the possession, how would have they entered into this agreement? If you are not in possession of a particular thing, can you just go and enter into an agreement? That was not the issue that time. The situation was clear that they were into
It doesn't mean that if you
they were having a dispute.
Okay, gentlemen, lower everyone's figures.
This is what I've got the petition with me.
Okay. No, 1 second. 1 second. Viewers, at the heart of this issue are 2 claims. And I want to bring in Kamru Zaman Chaudhary. Kamru Chaudhary, this is 1 second. Kamru Chaudhary, this is an important point. And I want to ask you this because it's constantly coming up. The POW Act of 1991 doesn't forbid any move to ascertain the religious character of a property. That's all the court has done. Do you think the court is not aware of the Supreme Court of the Parliament, the Act of Parliament? Do you think they work in a silo?
Rahul, good that you have asked this particular question to me. I was waiting to answer on this particular point of view only. We all know the Supreme Court is supreme, but it is not fallible. Whatever the case out here, in this particular case, a section of the society like me, we all feel that this is particularly today's judgment from the Supreme Court refusing to stay the Allahabad High Court's order is a classic case of majoritarian supremacy. With despite the law, the High Court as well as the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court, have refused to acknowledge the Places of Worship Act 1991 with the fear I feel agonizing the majority out here. Why I say
Oh
this?
my gosh.
You just go back.
I
No,
need to
let me
answer.
finish. I'm just taking just 10 seconds out here more. Let me tell you one thing out here. We gained independence in 1947. Baba Sahib Ambedkar had written a constitution for us to be followed. India as a nation existed from 1947, 15th of August. I agree with all of your point of view that Aurangzeb was a tyrant. The Mughal rulers who invaded India were all tyrants. They were looters, plunderers. They destroyed plenty number of places. But then, what was the rule of? Was there any rule of law out there? It was the rule of the sword out there at that point in time. Now,
And today you're
you
saying-
tell me one thing, Rahul.
Today you are saying it's the rule of the majority. Just 1 second, we look at
No,
the absurdity
Rahul,
of this.
Rahul,
1 second,
Rahul,
1
can I
second.
finish?
The
No,
entire
I've not
Hindi,
finished my
no, 1
point.
second. The entire Hindu community has a problem with state control of their place of worship. They have a problem, viewers, with the fact that the court interfered in their religious beliefs. At that time, the court was not scared of a majoritarian backlash. Right now, they're quaking in their pants. Ridiculous. Look, I'll leave it at this, viewers. I don't want to get into an area where the court is already looking at a particular aspect of the law. But I can tell you one thing. Only the truth, if it is excavated and surfaces, can settle this dispute. Anyone who's trying to obstruct that process, perhaps, is doing it out of some sort of malified interest. Naturally, viewers, who gains from obscuring the truth? The truth is the greatest leveler. Something is up here. I don't know. But I need to move on because there is another little debate that is knocking at our doors, and Dr. Ranganathan and Kamru Chaudhary will be here to square off on that. It's an important debate, viewers. And it is right now taking place in the state of Karnataka. A Congress MLA in the Karnataka Assembly has proposed that the state government consider steps to rename the Mysuru airport after Tipu Sultan. Prasad Abbayya, the Congress MLA, came up with a proposal during a discussion about the state government writing to the centre to change the names of airports. The proposal has drawn howls of protest from Hindu groups and the BJP. For many of them, Tipu Sultan was a bigot who was given to excesses against Hindus. They claim that naming the Mysuru airport after Tipu Sultan is to put intolerance on a pedestal, which the Congress is trying to do in order to appease minority voters. That's the charge. Listen in.
ಮೈಸೂರು ವಿಮಾನ ನಿಲ್ದಾಣಕ್ಕೂ ಕೂಡ ಟಿಪ್ಪು ಸುಲ್ತಾನ್
ಅದೇ ನೀವು ಈ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾತಾಡಿ
ಪ್ರಸ್ತಾಪ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ
ಈ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾತ್ರ
Now, viewers, let's open this up. Let's go straight across to Dr. Ranganathan and Kamru Chaudhary. This is going to be a straight face-off. We're going to get into the meat of this issue. Dr. Ranganathan, is there a reason to worry about the fact that Tipu Sultan is going to be put on a pedestal?
Rahul, you asked me a question beginning with "is there?" Let me ask a rhetorical question. Is there a Hitler Road in Tel Aviv? Is there? We are a nation that has glorified self-loathing and self-flagellation in equal measure to astronomical levels. We know more about the Mughals than about Shivaji, Rana Pratap and Prithviraj Chauhan. Why? Because history that is written by the victors is peddled by the vanquished, and Rahul, we have been vanquished. This is a country where people still go and pray at the grave of Aurangzeb, who beheaded Guru Tegh Bahadur, decapitated Sambhaji Maharaj, demolished Kashi Vishwanath and murdered 4.6 million Hindus. This is a country where Guru Arjan Dev was forced to sit on a hot plate and literally cooked alive by the Mughal Emperor Jahangir. And what do? We immortalize Jahangir in our films as the affable, feather-toying, romantic Salim. This is a country where a celebrated historian, Guha, did not want Delhi roads to be named after Chhatrapati Shivaji, the man who birthed an empire stretching from Peshawar to Plassey, because, in Guha's words, he was, quote, little-known regional figure and a feudal lord who endorsed caste hierarchies, unquote. This is a country where we eulogize invaders who over centuries perpetrated the largest genocide in human history and murdered 80 million of us. A figure arrived at authoritatively by historians K.S. Lal and Will Durant. This is the country, Rahul, where celebrities take pride in naming their son Taimur, where Akhilesh Yadav takes pride in having the nickname Tipu. Our history has been written by those who hated Hindus, Hinduism and Hindustan. But our history is being written by those who hate Hindus, Hinduism and Hindustan. There are hundreds of examples, but just one would suffice. Just give me a minute. Tipu Sultan. Read his manifesto, Rahul, written in his own words. It is a terrifying proclamation calling for all Muslims to come together to wage jihad. Unquote and quote. Annihilation of the infidels is a sacred duty, he writes. The Hindus of Coorg suffered a particularly brutal onslaught. Murders, tortured, forced conversions, even dead Hindus were converted, even dead Hindus. Tipu destroyed more than 800 temples, 27 churches, captured 60,000 Christians, converted 30,000, killed thousands. 151 Chronicles. Lewis Rice and R.D. Palsolkar believe the figure could be as high as 8,000 temples. Descendants of Mandya Iyengar do not celebrate Diwali till this day. Ever wondered why? Tipu butchered them on that day. Read Bartolomeo's personal accounts of Tipu Sultan butchery in Calicut. Men, women and children were paraded naked and trampled by elephants. And yet we call Tipu a symbol of communal harmony. We cheer when the statues of evil racist King Leopold is demolished in Belgium. But we celebrate Tipu Jayanti because tyrants who murder Hindus are not tyrants but heroes. Praising Tipu, Rahul, is like praising King Leopold for building roads and ports in Congo, balancing out ivory and rubber trade and a million murders. There is no difference between Tipu Sultan apologies and Holocaust deniers, and yet there exist in their millions these people. In years to come, I am sure Yaqub Memon's grave would become as popular at worshipping place as Tipu's is today. Visited and prayed by politicians and film stars. 75 years have gone, Rahul, just 20 seconds. But we still haven't got independence from brainwashing and servitude. And that is why, in years to come, Yaqub Memon will be celebrated just like Tipu is. After all, tens of thousands attended his funeral, tears flowing down their cheeks, didn't they? People will come and pray at his grave, seek his blessings, and who knows? We may even rename the Chhatrapati Shivaji Mumbai Airport as Yaqub Memon Airport.
Well, let me ask Mr. Kamru Chaudhary. In America, the left comes together to pull down statues of Confederate politicians and generals because they were slave owners. They pull them off their pedestals. Here the left, sir, places alleged bigots on top of pedestals. And this is happening in a Congress government in Karnataka. This is bizarre, isn't it, sir?
I don't think so. Anything is bizarre. A particular MLA has suggested on the floor of the assembly to rename Mysuru Airport as the Tipu Sultan Airport. Don't we have a Veer Savarkar Airport out here in India? Don't we have a Narendra Modi Stadium out here in India? The problem lies in not naming the airport as a Mysore Airport as Tipu Sultan Airport. The problem does not rise. It's more generic and more deep-rooted than you would like to answer. Because if it was not deep-rooted or the hate for the Muslims or anything resembling Muslims, then Aligarh's name would not have been changed. The people who have changing the Aligarh's name or trying to change Hyderabad to Bhagyanagar or Aurangabad to something else, these are all generic in their hate for a particular community in India. What Tipu Sultan meant to lots of Indians out here is the freedom struggle history that you need to revisit. It's not that Veer Savarkar has been named in the history books, but he was more of a coward than we think of Tipu Sultan, who fought the British valiantly.
Okay.
And he did not write 6 apology letters to the Britishers. That's the difference between them. Though I'm not equalizing out here Tipu Sultan out here.
Oh, really?
But then your comparison
Then why are you
Tipu
putting him
Sultan
on
as a tyrant.
Okay.
No,
So one
you are
second.
comparing Tipu
Can I
Sultan-
ask you a simple question, sir?
You don't
Why-
permit me
why-
the time
no.
to explain my point,
No,
sir.
you have
Thank
explained. You have explained yourself. You have drawn a comparison between Tipu Sultan and Narendra Modi. I'll come to that. But I just want to ask you a simple question. You say this renaming business is born out of a hatred. So why was Constantinople renamed, sir? That was named after Constantine. And in Turkey today, it's no longer called Constantinople, as you know.
You know-
So can I ask you, sir, was that born out of a hatred for Christians and the followers of Constantine? Simple question.
Rahul, what
Do
prompted
Muslims
the
hate
chief,
Christians?
No, what prompted the chief minister
No,
of
no, I'm
Assam
asking
to
you, sir.
change
You're not
his-
answering
No,
my question. You're here to
I'm
answer a question.
asking you.
You drew an
I'm
analogy.
asking-
I'm
I'm
asking you a
answering.
simple question.
I'm-
Did
your
Muslims
style-
change the name of Constantinople because they are fundamentally, from here, as you say, intrinsically intrinsically enemies of Christians? Simple question.
I never said that.
You said that,
I
sir.
asked you.
You said that why has
When
why has the name of Aligarh been changed? You said why is the name of Hyderabad purportedly going to be changed? Because there are certain Hindus here who have a hatred, you said, for Muslims. So I'm asking you, just go back in time. Why was the name Constantinople changed? Why was it dropped by Muslims?
Let us talk about what's happening within
now
the
let us
boundaries
talk
of
about
India.
You see, this is
no,
the problem.
You
viewers.
can't compare this.
No,
Now,
of course
this
you
is
can.
the problem
Of course
with you
you can.
people.
Of course
you want
can.
to listen
then
to
I'll
people,
ask you,
listen to people who suits your agenda
this is not,
and
this
who
is not
suits
fair.
your narrative.
I'm only asking
this
you.
is,
Okay.
Rahul,
Now,
this is
viewers, one
absolutely
second.
not fair.
He drew
when
a
I
comparison.
just ask you a
He drew a
simple
comparison
question,
between
Chief
Narendra
Minister
Modi.
of Assam
One second.
has changed his bio from India to Bharat just because the opposition bloc has changed
don't you know
it
what the
into
Constitution
India.
says? Article 1 of the Constitution. India that
India
is
is a
Bharat.
union of states.
India that is Bharat. No, one second.
India is
no,
a
please,
union
sir.
of
So
states
then
that is
you,
Bharat.
So you can't call.
That's another point.
So you no,
the
hang on.
point is that
what
the
does
hatred
in Hindi?
is deep-rooted
In
out
Hindi,
here.
the government of
You
India is
go
called
on changing.
Bharat Sarkar. You see,
Rahul,
sir,
let me
don't
finish.
compare
No,
apples
let
and
me finish.
oranges.
Your
Let's go
opening
like for like.
commentary. No,
My
I'm
opening
coming to you. Just,
Okay.
I'm coming. I'm
Okay,
coming.
come.
The point out here is that
Come.
the vilification of the present-day Muslims, their religious practices, customs,
Right.
and everything is being frowned upon by a section of the majority
just hold
community.
your thoughts.
Just
Fair
to
enough. Fair
uphold
enough.
their Hindutva
Okay,
agenda.
let me tell you, viewers.
Now,
look
this
at Tipu's
opposing
record.
Tipu Sultan is also
Dr.
part of the
Ranganathan,
majoritarian
Dr.
Hindutva
Ranganathan
agenda.
tiptoed around Tipu's record. Let me just read out some facts for you, viewers. He destroyed temples after conquests in Malabar, Mangalore, and Coorg. Historians estimate destruction of 8,000 temples in South India during his reign. Portuguese missionaries wrote that he killed Hindu captives by tying them to legs of elephants. He ordered forced circumcision and conversion of captive enemy combatants. He was no inclusive figure. Boasted conquest of infidels. Excuse me, let me just finish, sir, please. Look, you can take me apart if my facts are wrong. These are absolute detailed, documented facts. He described himself as a Ghazi or holy warrior. And today, Dr. Ranganathan, he is being compared to Narendra Modi. Can you explain where this is coming from? And if this comparison holds?
This comes from, as I said, acute hatred for Hinduism and Hindus and Hindu phobia. Because I want to ask just two very simple questions to Mr. Kamru Chaudhary, my dear friend. Number one, Mr. Kamru Chaudhary, I'm sure you know about Ashfaqullah Khan. I want to ask a simple question. Was he a freedom fighter or was he a coward?
Obviously, he was a freedom fighter. Why?
Yeah.
Why he should be a coward? Do you remember
you
Shama
also
Prasad
know-
Mukherjee? Do you remember Shama Prasad Mukherjee, your ideologue, who worked for the partition of Bengal?
Will you not interrupt
We have
me?
got cowards on the right-wing side.
My
and you
God,
will
Rahul,
not
can you please? I know
I'm
he's
not
so
debating
rapid
out
that he
here
won't
that
let me
whether
finish.
Tipu Sultan was great or not.
Will you please
Somebody has
wait?
proposed the name of Mysore Airport.
You must
Whether
allow me to finish.
accepted or not, that's a
Let him
different
at least
issue.
finish, Kamru Chaudhary. You're jumping down his throat. He never interrupted you when you spoke.
Okay.
He didn't
No,
even
He
open
should,
his
have,
mouth.
he should be asking a question as simple as that.
But
through
let
you.
him finish
He
his
doesn't
question.
have the facts.
Let me finish. Are bhaiya, don't get rattled. You said Ashfaqullah Khan was a freedom fighter, not a coward. The fact is he also submitted a mercy petition. Did you know that? Ata pata hota nahi hai, chale aate hain. Now, according to you, anybody who submits a mercy petition is a coward. So say it on national television that Ashfaqullah Khan was a coward. Say it. Say it.
Can I reply? Can I reply?
Reply now.
This is not a session for a Q&A out here.
Oh.
Just tell me
Now
one thing.
it's not a Q&A.
All those
Now it's
no,
not a Q&A.
no,
Rahul, did you
Rana-
see? Did you see
Ranganathan,
how
no,
perfidious?
Anand Ranganathan
Why
ji,
don't
one
you say
simple
Ashfaqullah
fact I
Khan
want
was a
to say.
coward? Say it.
When
Because Veer Savarkar
Britishers
submitted a
were
mercy petition,
opposed
he was
by
a
the
coward.
entire
So
country,
Ashfaqullah
the
Khan
British
also was a
rule was
coward.
opposed by the entire country, then
Rahul,
the
you know,
right-wing
this is
RSS
the problem with
sided
such
with the
people.
Britishers.
It is
Now
embarrassing
is
for a
it so
scientist to teach
that
them
since
history.
Tipu fought the Britishers, now the right-wingers want to
Was
oppose Tipu?
Ashfaqullah Khan a
Is this
coward
the
or
fact?
not?
Okay.
Is this a fact?
Ashfaqullah Khan a
Viewers.
coward?
Is this a fact? You want to oppose Tipu
Viewers.
because Tipu opposed the British?
Okay,
Your friend.
Okay. Now, listen to me, viewers. Yeah, this is not a
It's
Q&A, he
shocking.
says. This is not a
Shocking that he
Q&A.
believes Ashfaqullah Khan is a coward. It is
Okay.
shocking that Kamruji believes.
Okay, this
that
is not a
Ashfaqullah Khan is
Q&A.
coward.
This is not a Q&A, but this is also not an accuse and A. This is not an accuse and A either. Okay?
गुरुजी पढ़ लीजिए थोड़ा.
So मैं एक दो चीजें बोलना चाहता हूँ. I just want to say a couple of things, viewers. You see, one parallel was drawn about how here everyone is on a renaming spree because they hate. There is an Islamophobia. They hate Muslims. So I ask viewers a simple question tonight. Why was the name of the city, the great city Constantinople, changed? Was it because Muslims hate Christians? Just take a like for a like. I don't get an answer. I'm accused
Mathura was renamed Islamabad.
Exactly. I'm accused of basically turning this conversation in a different direction. Then I say that the left in this country argues for bringing down the statues of Confederate generals and other politicians in the American South because, viewers, Black Lives Matter, because they were slave owners. Here the left, however, wants to put Tipu on a pedestal. And who is Tipu? I've just talked to you about his record, viewers. So you will put a divisive figure on a pedestal in India. You'll pull them down abroad. I don't get an answer. I'm accused of, I don't know, whataboutery. I don't know. There is no way you can have a debate. Then Dr. Ranganathan asks, because we are told that certain figures of our history are cowards. So Dr. Ranganathan asks, was Ashfaqullah Khan a coward or a freedom fighter? We get the response that he's a freedom fighter. Then he asks, well, he also wrote a mercy petition like Veer Savarkar did. If Veer Savarkar is a coward, then should Ashfaqullah Khan also be a coward? You don't get a response, you get a tirade. So I don't know where to begin and where to end. The fact of the matter, viewers, is this, that if there are people who are upset at a decision, a government must listen to those people. Because if it stops listening to the people, then what does it become? It becomes an authoritarian regime. It's very simple. It's very simple. If there are masses of people who have a problem with Tipu, do you want to put that name up there on a pedestal and name airports after them, etc., only to poke a finger in someone else's eye? Because I think that is intolerance. I'll leave it at this, viewers. I'll let you think about it deeply. I'll take a short break. When we return, viewers, huge big twist in the story of the breach in Parliament. Don't go away.
Hello, Moto.
Co-powered by
United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, that is USCIS, has said that they have reached the limit set by congressional mandate to issue number of visas, that is especially H-1B categories. That includes both 65,000 H-1B visa and about 20,000 advanced degree exemption for H-1B visa services. So that will have its bearing on number of professionals who apply for H-1B visa to work in companies or in individual capacities, also sometimes in US, because H-1B visa pertains to working professional, especially in IT sector. So this will have some bearing in the Indian IT sector as well. US CIS has also announced that they will send non-selection notices to registrants through their online accounts over the next few days, and when they finish this sending non-selection notification, the status for properly submitted registration will be announced. Now they will also continue to accept process petitions that are otherwise exempt from the cap. So only H-1B visa category has reached the limit. Other visa services or other visa application process will continue to be accepted and processed. Now they will also continue to accept and process petitions filed to extend the amount of time a current H-1B worker may remain in the United States, change the terms of employment for current H-1B workers, allow current H-1B workers to change employers, and allow current H-1B workers to work concurrently in additional H-1B positions. So while the fresh visa services will not be accepted, there are certain conditions which will still be accepted and processed as per the requirement and as per the terms and conditions laid out by the US Immigration Department. And they have also said the CIS has also stated that it has received a number of visa application, and many of them will not be processed because they have reached the cap. And what happens now if you did not get your US H1B visa for 2024? That means the status indication will be showing that not selected, and the selection notices to registrants through their online accounts over the next few days will be sent. Now, USCIS has also informed that they will continue to accept and process petitions exempt from the cap. So other visa categories will continue to be entertained. And earlier, in a move that could impact various immigration process, the US Citizenship and Immigration Services has announced a proposed substantial fee hike. The proposed span a broad spectrum including H1B visas and has been met with criticism over 600 individuals and organizations during the process and during the decision making process. Also, they have the USCIS has announced that they are facing revenue crunch because of the pandemic, and since then for few years the visa process services did not happen at a rate that used to be, and that also had a bearing on its entire revenue generation, which is now impacting its work adversely. And that means the reason for the increase of this entire visa processing fee has been proposed by the US Immigration Department. And the proposed fee rules is expected to be finalized in December or January 2024 with an effective date of 60 to 90 days thereafter, which will also address the shortfall in recovering the full cost of agency operations, which has persisted since 2016. The proposed fee hike, if enacted, would have significant implication for various immigration categories. That includes notably the H1B registration fee that could see a staggering 50% increase, rising from $10 to $215. The petition fee for an H1B visa application is also slated to increase by 70% from $460 to $780. The USCIS justifies this increase by pointing out the need to match agency capacity with projected workload and prevent future backlogs. And also the naturalization cost and other visa sub-services are also proposed to have a hike. So for the coming days, those professionals or those people who wanted to be in USA either for the working reason or some professional reason, or who wanted to be a naturalized citizen in the US, they are going to have some hurdles. H1B professionals will have their visa process delayed because the cap for this year has been achieved, and others who have already been there, they may also face some fee hike if their visa application is not processed in the next few weeks, because in the next few weeks or next couple of months a new visa fee structure is going to be implemented in USA to fill in the gap of the revenue curtailment that it has faced over the last few years. And for that, they are going to hike fees. In some certain categories, that fee is going to be substantial, and in some categories it's going to be about 30% or 25%. United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, that is USCIS, has said that they have reached the limit set by congressional mandate to issue number of visas, that is especially H1B categories. That includes both 65,000 H1B visa and about 20,000 advanced degree exemption for H1B visa services. So that will have its bearing on number of professionals who apply for H1B visa to work in companies or in individual capacities, also sometimes in US, because H1B visa pertains to working professional, especially in IT sector. So this will have some bearing in the Indian IT sector as well. US CIS has also announced that they will send non-selection notices to registrants through their online accounts over the next few days, and when they finish this sending non-selection notification, the status for properly submitted registration will be announced. And now they will also continue to accept process petitions that are otherwise exempt from the cap. So only H1B visa category has reached the limit. Other visa services or other visa application process will continue to be accepted and processed. Now they will also continue to accept and process petitions filed to extend the amount of time a current H1B worker may remain in the United States, change the terms of employment for current H1B workers, allow current H1B workers to change employers, and allow current H1B workers to work concurrently in additional H1B positions. So while the fresh visa services will not be accepted, there are certain conditions which will still be accepted and processed as per the requirement and as per the terms and conditions laid out by the US Immigration Department. And they have also said the USCIS has also stated that it has received a number of visa applications and many of them will not be processed because they have reached the cap. And what happens now if you did not get your US H1B visa for 2024? That means the
Viewers, politics continues over the security breach in Parliament after 10 opposition MPs were suspended from the Lok Sabha and TMC MP Derek O'Brien was suspended from Rajya Sabha for disrupting the parliamentary proceedings. BJP MP Lockit Chatterjee has now shown a photograph of suspect Lalit Jha along with a TMC leader and said that TMC always has ties with what she calls is the Tukre gang. The BJP leader also demanded a thorough probe into the matter to look into TMC's connection with the security breach. The TMC has hit back at the BJP, saying the BJP's attempts at shielding MP Pratap Seema are futile and the party has plummeted to an irredeemable low. This also comes after Amit Malviya, BJP spokesperson, has stated that the intruders have clear links to the Congress Communist nexus, drawing attention to their involvement in the farmer and wrestler agitation. Listen in.
जो मास्टरमाइंड था इस ये सिचुएशन का, जो मास्टरमाइंड था कल ललित झा, पुलिस खोज रहा है इसको, हाई इन्वेस्टिगेशन हो रहा है यहाँ का, पूरा गृह मंत्री जी देख रहे हैं इसको, पूरा हाई इन्वेस्टिगेशन हो रहा है। इसमें ललित झा कल से इसका खोज नहीं है, इसके पास सब लोगों का मोबाइल था। ये ललित झा के साथ ये देखिए टीएमसी का विधायक है। बहुत दुख की बात है जब हम लोग मतलब क्या टेररिस्ट का हम लोग हमला जो भी बोलते हैं होता है, उसके साथ तापस राय, ये टीएमसी विधायक तापस राय है, उसका क्षेत्र का एमपी है